Hi everyone, I'm Julie. Welcome to my Flosstube channel. Thank you so much for clicking through to the video today. For those of you who are just finding me, this is my second Flosstube ever, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it goes all right. Anybody who's coming back after having watched the first video, thank you so much. I sort of uploaded my first Flosstube at the end of December. I'd been, thinking, like playing around with the idea, toying with the idea for a while. And just sort of one weekend on a whim, I thought, let me just, throw it out there, put it up online, why not? And truly, I thought maybe like 12 people would watch it. And within a few days, I don't know how it got on people's algorithms, but it seems like it was coming up as a recommended video. People that, I've never met in real life, but who I have watched on their Flosstubes or followed them on Instagram. So many people generously welcomed me to the community and, promoted my video, either through, again, putting a post on their Instagram or their Instagram stories. A few people mentioned me in their Flosstubes as recommendations for new people to watch. And I so appreciate that. It's just been exceptionally kind and generous and welcoming, and more people saw that first video than I ever expected. So I feel the pressure now, recording the second one, especially because I didn't think it would take me this long. I thought, oh, maybe I'll, a couple weeks later, I'll do a kit parade, which is what I had asked if people would be interested in seeing in the last video. People overwhelmingly said, yes, do a kit parade. And then life got in the way and I just haven't been able to record it. But so that was just really unexpected. So thank you to everyone. And so today I'm also not going to do a kit parade, only because I was at the attic at Examplar Symposium. And so I wanted to talk about that. That was also an opportunity for me to pick up a lot more stash. I have a few finishes. I got a few pieces framed. And so I thought, why not use this video to talk about those things and then next time do a kit parade. I'd started to pull things together to do a kit parade, and then only later did I realize that there was an entire box of kitted, charts and items and everything in another room that I hadn't even thought of. So if I had done that, it would have been a disaster anyways. So I will just stick to these other things today. But again, thank you so much to everyone. So let's start first things first with some finishes. So in 2025, I have already had 3 finishes. One I don't have here because it's been sent off to Total Framing, who I've used to frame a number of my pieces, and I've always been really thrilled with the result. So that is currently sitting in their, workshop in their store. And probably based on my previous experience, maybe about 6 months before I hear back from them, maybe slightly sooner in terms of when they will send different frame options. But I think it will be about 6 months before I get that back, but well worth the wait. But I will put up a picture here of Ruth Bates. This is by Hands Across the Sea. I stitched it with the called for Auvert Soie, and it is stitched on 46 count Affogato by Fiber on a Whim. This one I showed last time. I was very misguidedly thinking I could finish it before New Year's Eve, and it took me like 10 days into January. I think I didn't finish it until the 10th of January. And I made the mistake of leaving all of the satin stitches, the slightly freehand embroidery, that sort of red crescent at the bottom, plus all of the overrun until the end. Usually I'm more disciplined than that. Usually I know myself and I do it as I go. However, I was using this rationale of, I don't want to put the hoop over it because it's going to mess up the stitches, particularly the satin stitches. So I left all for the end, which then just made it like slogging through that end. Also made me question why I've never taken an embroidery lesson, so I don't know how to do any of these other stitches besides cross stitch properly. But I did get it done and I was really happy with it. I was finished with it in time for show and share at the attic, which was really a highlight. And a few people came up and were looking at it because of the resemblance that it has to the Uffendell sisters, to Antong Uffendell and Isabella Uffendell. And of course, Nicola from Hands Across the Sea always puts a lot of information in her charts. And so if you look at the Ruth Bates chart, she's looked into why do these, you know, what's the link? Why do these samplers resemble one another so much? And it turns out that Ruth Bates' maiden aunt is believed to have been a governess for the Uffendale sisters. So she must have been the link to really explain why they're so similar. Someday I hope to stitch the other two and maybe have them all three up on the wall. But for now, really happy with Ruth being finished. It was really a pleasure to stitch on, unusual colors for me. And even sort of like halfway through it, I was just sort of like, oh, these colors aren't really me. I don't know if I see the vision for this sampler. Like, it really wasn't speaking to me, but I powered through it, and I'm so glad I did because I think it's a really, really beautiful sampler. But second up, I have another Hands Across the Sea, but one that I can actually show in person. So this is Dorothy Bryant. Let me see if it's, yeah, sorry, peeking out. So this is Dorothy Bryant. This is one of her new releases. This was sort of my January start, my blessing sampler. I got it finished during the month of January. It's supposed to bring you good luck. This was originally supposed to be a red sampler, but I'm quite partial to black over red samplers, so that's what I went for. This is on, I believe, 46 count Thornfield by Needle and Flax, and in the end I used an NPI black. I started stitching this while I was away at my lake house. I got snowed in. I had brought a Tudor silk, a Swasserfine, thinking that it would be enough coverage, but it was really too sparse, and I happened to have an NPI with me, so I used that instead. So for this, what I think I'm going to do is try out the hem stitch around it. I actually got the Modern Folk Embroidery Guide on hem stitch. So if you just heard my cats in the background, I'm not sure if that will have picked up, but they're causing a ruckus. So Jacob has done a tutorial on how to do hem stitch. I think I'd really like to try it. And then my plan is to take this hem stitch piece and put it on the front of this basket. So this basket is from 1803 Ohio Farm Baskets, I think. And it comes originally with like a little plaque here that says stitching, but I want to put this on there. And then currently I've just got some yarn in there that hasn't been used, but I thought that would really be quite cute. So that is my plan for this instead of just getting it framed. And then the third one that I finished is a really cute little small. It is Little Valentino from Not Forgotten Farm. So this is, I think, one of her latest releases. She's been doing these kind of little cute figurines. I did Little Nick, and I made quite a few of those to give away as ornaments at Christmas, and I really liked. I'm just in the Valentine's mood this year, which I'll show some other pieces coming up, but this was a really, really quick stitch, quicker even than the Little Nick. And I stitched this on 36 count almonds by Victorian Motto. And I just used the called for DMCs that were listed in the charts. But probably I'll just turn that into a little pillow and use it as a dough bowl filler. And oh, I really quickly wanted to show my little, okay, it's got cat hair all over it, shocking. This is a project bag that I was using for Little Valentino. I know it's apples, not hearts, but the whole like pinky theme really spoke to me. And this is by Nest Craft Room. And I got this at, it's a vinyl front bag. I got that at Stitch in London. She had a ton of different really gorgeous project bags. And so I jumped at the chance, and it was really hard to decide because I told myself, okay, just get one. You already have quite a few at home that are sitting there unused. So I had to hone in on just one, and I really like that. And especially now that I'm just like very in a spring mood, even though it's still just January, I really liked that color. So I think I'm gonna keep some Valentine stitching in that for the coming period. So next I want to show you the three pieces that I got back from the framer, which as I mentioned, I used total framing. So the first one is Ragamuffin 2 by Shakespeare's Peddler. And again, I don't know, I guess I need to back up a little bit. So this is on Lakeside 40 count vintage light exemplar. It's with the called for silks, which I think are a combination, I want to say, of Gloriana and Auvert Soie L'Auger. I completed this in April of 2024, and I think it's just a beautiful frame and a beautiful Quaker sampler. The next one is one of my all-time favorite samplers that I've stitched. In fact, I think it's tied for first place. It is Mary Argent by Needlework Press. And again, I'm hoping that this is showing up relatively centered. Sorry for the glare. So this is stitched on 40 count weeks dye work straw. This is by Needlework Press, if I didn't mention. It's with the called for weeks dye works threads. This was originally an exclusive from Country Sampler in Spring Green, but now it was part of their club, I believe, but now you can just order it from them, and I think also maybe get it elsewhere. I absolutely love this. I love the house. I love their satin stitching down here. I love the color choices. So yeah, really, really happy with that. And then last but certainly not least, I have this smaller piece. It is, let me try to hold on that side instead. It is the Sarah Ann Fernley, otherwise known as the Zodiac Sampler by Just Stitching Along. And it's the Zodiac Sampler because they have sayings about the different signs of the zodiac. This is all the over one down at the bottom. But let me pull that back a little bit. And this was stitched on color and cotton 40 count limestone with the black Oblige. And I completed this one in August of 2023. And for Mary Argent, I didn't say, but I finished that in December of 2023. So those are my 3 framed pieces. And for anybody who's just wondering about the service that Total Framing offers, because I live sort of where I can't get things framed directly, I wait until I'm visiting the States. I then send them, you know, my pieces in a little plastic Ziploc inside of an envelope, just by USPS with tracking, but nothing special, not DHL or FedEx or anything. And on their website, they have a form that they ask you to download and print out. And that is things like your name, your contact details, but also what the piece is, what you want about your framing, right? So the type of glass, if you want glass, if you want matting, asking you also for general information about like the style that you would like. And then they take that, and when your piece then gets up in the queue, they use that, and then they will text you photos of the different frame options. And in my experience, I think each time they've sent me about 5 or 6 different choices initially. And one, which I'll show maybe in another video, one time I didn't really think that any of the initial choices were what I thought should be with that stitch piece, even though they were indeed what I had said on the little form. So then Terry went back and pulled a bunch of other frames until I got to something that I was really happy with, and I think it turned out beautifully. So again, I think all framers everywhere are a bit backed up, you know, maybe not Michael's or something locally, but here, you know, they pin it, they do a really professional job. And so I think it's really worth any wait time. Plus, you know, the time flies by. I'm not sitting here thinking like, oh, I'm desperately waiting for my sampler to come back. I've got plenty of stuff to look at on the walls, things that I'm working on. So if you're thinking about using Total Framing, if you don't have a framer in your area, I know that quite a few do this type of mail-in service, and I know a lot of people recommend others as well, but Total Framing is the one that I have used, and I have thought they are really, really quite good. And if there's any Dutch stitchers out there that might be watching, I also used a couple of different framers in person in The Hague back in the day, a few years back. So if anybody has questions about those, I can tell you maybe through a message who I use there. So at the moment, I only really have had one whip. After I finished Little Valentino, I went back to my whip of the Winter Wreath, Couronne d'Hiver by Jennifer Lentini. So this is the stitching. As you can see, I'm maybe about, not quite 3/4 of the way, but almost. This is a piece that I saw stitched by a Japanese stitcher, Pine Tree Ree, and I just really loved it. And it's quite unique. It's not something that I normally stitch. And so I'm just really in the mood, and I'm just trying to power through to get it done because I really want to put it in a hoop finish and have it for next winter. And again, sorry, it's not ironed, but this is on 40 counts Zweigart Flax. So just a plain linen, and it's with the called for DMCs. And I'm doing 1/2 with everything except for the white, which is 2/2, which is really quite thick, but that's exactly what I wanted. I thought the snow should be bulky and should pop out a bit more. So it makes that stitching those parts a little bit more tedious because it's quite full on a 40 count, but yeah, really enjoying that. So I have a few other Valentine stitches that I have finished in the past that I thought I would share. One I only have a photo of, and it's not even a photo of the finished piece, but I thought worth sharing anyways. It is My Heart Is Yours by Luminous Fiber Arts, which I will show a picture here. So I stitched this on 40 count bisque by Lakeside linens with a belle soie cranberry silk. And then I customized the initials and the dates. But yeah, and turned that into a really small little pillow there. Next I have a Forbidden Fiber Co. Love is in the Air. So I just think that was the cutest little heart-shaped air balloon with little clouds. I really love that piece. And this is also on 40 count Lakeside bisque. This has, I think, Threadwork's Cranberry. I think this is Nina's Threads Heather, Atelier Amandier, which is a thread that is produced out of France, and a lot of the French charts call for the Atelier threads, and they're really, really nice. And Nina's threads as well. I think she's a Hungarian dyer, but all of those I really, really like. I think those are just beautiful. And so yeah, this is my own sort of color conversion. All right, next I have a piece by Threadwork's Primitive. This is Beggar's Valentine. And this is stitched on 40 count Picture This plus Wren. And I recall using just the called for threads. So that's the one that I think I'm gonna turn into a little pillow. I think all these will become like particularly small pillows for a very small dough bowl. And hopefully by the end of the season, I'll have a couple more to throw in there with it. But then the last one I wanted to show you is Primitive Hair Love Never Fails, which I believe is a freebie. And this is on 38 count Wayfarer's Cloak, which is by Legacy Linen. And I also use the Belle Soie Cranberry on this in terms of my thread. So I love that little heart and hand. And I think what's really interesting is that even though I was using the exact same thread, like the same dial-out, the exact same one from the same card, the cranberry on the Wayfarer's Cloak looks quite different than the cranberry on the bisque. So that's just a neat way to kind of experiment with how your background linen color is going to impact your thread choices. And I'm not somebody who has a particular knack for color. So, I just see what I like, but it's interesting to observe afterward the fact. So what I thought would also be fun, given that I'm quite in the Valentine's mood, is to talk about some of the different Valentine's charts that I have in my stash, in my collection, that I'm thinking about stitching on this season. I have a bunch here, so obviously only a couple of them at most are going to get done. But I thought it would just be fun to share some different charts. I really like when other Flosstubers do this, just to kind of give inspiration. So the first one is a freebie chart. So I only have, it's from DMC, so I only have the printout, so I can't show that to you, but I will try to find an image of the final stitch piece. It's basically a heart that has an alphabet in it, with some different colors of pinks and reds, and I think it's just a super cute, surely super fast little stitch to throw together. So that one I think I will absolutely be stitching this year. And then the other one that I would really like to stitch, let's see, is this it here? Yeah. So this is by Emily Call. This is her Little Cupid. This is a PDF from Etsy. And it says Salt and Pepper because she used to go by Salt and Pepper Stitching. But she has now, I think, switched to going by her name, which is Emily Call. So if you search for that on Etsy, you can just buy it as a PDF. So it's just got a really cute little Cupid, a bit more intricate than the Not Forgotten Farm one. And I thought that would just be really fun to stitch up. So the DMC freebie, and then this one I'm really hoping to get to. But otherwise, some cute ones that I thought would be Blackbird Designs Love is in the Air. These are some very sort of love themed stockings, which I would love to stitch more of this year. And those are some on the back. Hopefully these are showing. La-di-da Lovebirds, which again is like not traditionally, pink or anything, but I think really cute. Heart and Hand Big Hearted Tiny Town, which is one that's been, of course, a lot of people have done these, Tiny Town series. And I think the Valentine's one is just really, really cute and precious. And again, I'm just in the mood for it. Next I have Annie B's Little Pink Houses, which is like this. Really cute. This one I think is maybe out of print, but I found it on the secondhand market and on eBay, and they're always really quite cheap there and readily accessible, so maybe it is still in print. But in any case, this is Sheepish Design Valentine Webbit. And this is their series of the rabbits in these little heart shapes, but this is actually the only one that is Valentines. But I think that is just super cute. And again, all of these are so small, you could just really easily stitch them up. So here we have another heart and hand. It's the Love Whirligig. And my favorite part about that is the little envelope with the heart that's sort of over on this side. I think that's just adorable. A final heart and hand one is Valentine Bird. I've always loved their little birds. So I think that's really cute. I love the long legs. Very adorable. Country Cottage Needleworks Love Birds. These colors are not necessarily, they're a little bit too vibrant for my taste, so I think I would change the colors a little bit, you know, keep the pinks and the greens, but just have different actual thread choices. But I think that's a really cute one. And then the other one is, or the next one rather, is a Blackbird design book for my friend. But this has a lot of, you know, Valentine's theme friendship ones, which I love because I last year stitched some smalls for my girlfriends. And I really sort of enjoy letting the people in my life know that I appreciate them. So this has, you know, some stockings, some heart finishes, really, really sweet. But this would be one that maybe you wouldn't think of as being so Valentine's focused, but really nice one. Another Threadwork primitive. So I had done the Beggar's Valentine, but this one is Key to My Heart. Just quite cute. And last but certainly not least is a design by Little Stitch Girl, and it's called Lows of Love. And in fact, somehow Instagram, the algorithm must have known, because I was literally just looking at this on, it had come up on somebody's, I think it was either their Instagram post or maybe it was a Facebook group that they posted in, but somebody had just finished this. And I don't think that they did it on the gingham fabric. I want to say they just did it on a plain backing fabric, which is probably what I would do. Yeah, but those are just some cute Valentine's charts that I have in my collection, and so I wanted to share those just for some inspiration, and I'll have to report back next time to see if I actually managed to stitch any of them. And I'll also be setting a goal for myself to finish some of the Valentine's pieces that I had already finished that I've shown to you, because they have been sitting for now multiple years just in a plastic bin, and I need to just get on with it and turn them into little pillows, so that hopefully I will get to that. So I also wanted to then next talk to you about my 2025 stitching plans. And I know we're nearly 1/12 of the way through the year. These plans I, of course, towards the end of 2024, started thinking about and putting down. And I've mostly stuck to them. But I think it's just a fun way to sort of, you know, throw out into the universe what you'd like to do for the upcoming year. I always like to hear this from other people. This year, I'm not going to be super strict. I know in some other years, like I've never done Whip Go, but in other years I have said, okay, I want to, you know, follow this monthly sal or stitch X amount on, you know, a particular piece each month. This year it's a little bit more, you know, free flowing, but I still have some goals. And so it'll be fun to see, you know, to reflect at the end of the year to see what I have actually achieved. So one that I actually forgot to put on my list, but I was in, the Sampler Guild that I'm in is the Sampler Guild. It's UK based. So once a week they do a Zoom call. And so I hop on there, and at the start of the year, Linda Haddon, who graciously, you know, keeps us all in line and runs the guild, she's phenomenal. She suggested that we commit to stitching at least one stitch a day for the entire year. So apparently about 45 of us have committed to doing that. And some of the ladies have been taking photos of their stitching each day, which I haven't been, but I have been quite diligent this year about writing in my book of days. So very pleased with that. I've managed to meet that goal. But that means that every single day over this next year, I hopefully will put in at least one stitch. Like even if it's just a single stitch, I want to stick to it to not sort of break that, you know, pledge. So that will be quite fun to see. And I think we're also going to all compare like how many finishes we have at the end of the year. And that's something that I track anyways. I have an Excel sheet where I keep all that because I like to just see those facts and figures. But that'll be quite fun. But the other things that are actually on my list is, so I wanted to do a New Year's Day start. a lot of people are really into this idea of having it be a blessing sampler if you start it and complete it within the month of January. And who doesn't want to be more blessed? So I hopped onto that bandwagon, and that's the Dorothy Bryant that I showed earlier that I did successfully complete within the month of January. I haven't always done a blessing sampler in these past few years. I think one year I started Bridget Power on the 1st of January, and I think I finished it on the 31st of March, and it was pretty monogamous stitching. So, but this year I thought, okay, give myself a small, more manageable piece. However, I started it on the 1st of January, didn't like my thread choices, stitched only a few X's, went back to working on Ruth Bates, and then when I finished that, I went back to Dorothy Bryant, and then that's the piece I took with me to the attic, and I finished it, I think while I was actually at the attic, and then I worked a little bit on my winter wreath, and then on little Valentino, but I definitely was able to get through Dorothy Bryant quite quickly, which is really nice. I have also, with my group of ladies who we do the full moon sal, which anybody is welcome to join. The idea is that on the full moon, maybe the day before, the day of, the day after, so 2 to 3 days per month, we stitch on a moon related chart. In the past, most of the time, we've all stitched on the same piece. So we started with the Primitive Needle Moonsick chart, and that's a pretty small one, so we all finished it. And then we went on to the Moons of 2022 with Kathy Barrick, which I think none of us have finished. And then some of the ladies went to a different chart. We all sort of, dropped off. So I think 2024 was a real bust of a year. I don't think any of us really stuck to it. But Paulette from Plum Street Samplers has released Salem Mini Moon, which again, it's a smaller chart. It feels very doable. So I had suggested, I think, to the group that we should all reinvigorate the sal by focusing on Salem Mini Moon. And I think 3 of us are stitching on that, and 1 might be stitching, I think Sarah is maybe stitching on one of the other mini moons. I think the winter one, but I can't remember exactly what that chart is called. But so that is something that I want to work on this year, and the Salem Mini Moon will show the image of that. I will be doing 2 exchange pieces for the 2 Stitch in London retreats that I'm planning on going to this year. I'm already registered for, in March, there will be the Stitch in London Sampler Edition, which will be really great. I went to the inaugural edition of that last year, had a blast, learned so much. Marie, who organizes that from Stitches and Diamonds, is just phenomenal. She puts on the best event. She's the most gracious woman and super talented as well. I mean, she obviously does Flosstube and stitches on her own, but she and her husband now have Swan Bay fabrics, which I know a few people on their Flosstubes have shown their linens. At the last retreat, I bought a bunch, so I'm hoping to stitch some pieces on that this year, and then, we'll be able to show you those and how the linen's working with different charts. But so I'm going to stitch 2 smalls for those 2 Stitch in London retreats. The second one will be sometime in the autumn. I haven't, registration's not open yet, but I am planning on definitely trying to get there. So that will be another small piece. And so for the first, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say because and then it spoils the surprise for whoever gets it, but you just pick out a random bag, so they're not going to know. It's not going to spoil any surprise ahead of time. But I was at the Farm Girl retreat in Amana last year, and a woman, and I deeply apologize, I don't remember who it was, she stitched Brenda Gervais with a needle and threads. I think it's called Sewing Bird or maybe Stitching Bird, and put it on a little oil can. And I'll try to put an image of it here, but it was just the cutest finish. And so I think I'm going to copy that idea pretty much, word for word, because it was just the most amazing finish. But next, I want to talk about a sampler that I've talked about in my last video, but this is really sort of high on my agenda for this year. So it is Kunstneedlework KNV 9704, I think is the official name of the chart, but it's known as the Jacob's Ladder chart, sometimes also known as Anne Foxton's, because the girl who stitched it is in fact called Anne Foxton. She signs her name right there. But these birds are phenomenal, and I just have loved this chart. I manage, it's, you know, long out of print. Canvy is out of business. I think they worked with GGR quite a lot back in the day, but they are no longer printing their charts. So if you can get a hold of this, I recommend it. I think I got mine on eBay, although it might have been on a Stash Unload group. But I had seen a woman stitch this. Bayou City Stitcher is her Instagram, and this is her piece that she finished. And she did it with the called for DMCs. And I want to say she stitched it on Lakeside Mariner White, if I'm not mistaken. And it just looks phenomenal. But for a piece this big, I was just really in the mood to stitch with silks. So I initially did my own silk conversion, which, let me just double check. Yeah, it's on the floor behind me, that's why I was checking. I did it with Small 103s. And I got a bit of a start a couple years ago. And this is on Lakeside 46 count vintage bisque. So this is the top left corner. I'm at top left corner start. And just something about these colors I just didn't love. Like I think the pinks were a little bit too vibrant. And maybe if I had just persevered, because it was a pretty direct, you know, color conversion. I didn't change the colors. I was just pulling, you know, like the silk equivalents of the DMCs just based on my own. I have the thread chart, and I, you know, also have a lot of silks here in person. So I was using that combination to pull them, but I just really wasn't super happy with it. So knowing that I was going to be at the attic for Sampler Symposium, I reached out to them and asked if they could do a silk conversion for me for an out of print chart. Knowing that it was a big ask because they presumably like don't have the chart in person. So it's not the same process of, you know, seeing the you know, finished version or even seeing the chart printed out and pulling colors based on that. It was really me. I sent the DMC list, and then when we got there, we sort of honed the colors. But I asked them to do an over-dyed silk conversion, and Mary is the sort of silk guru, you know, conversion guru who helped me. So she pulled a combination of, we have classic color works, and it's such an interesting, like, you know, color variety. We have 3 Alarm Fire by Belle Soie, so this really, really vibrant orange, you know, beach grass, more muted tones, some Glorianas, and more Gloriana. I think it's all Gloriana and classic color works with maybe, is there one gum nut in there? I'm not sure, bear with me. No, I think it's all Glorianas and Belle Soies. And then there's just a Soie 103 for some over 1 letters. But so really, really interesting colors. And let me see, it might actually work out better if I pull the DMCs just to kind of give you an idea of what the threads look like, since my my silks are all in Flossaway bags already, because that's how I keep them. Even though the ones that are on the cards, I keep in the Flossaway bags. But here, let me really quickly just kind of do a little Vanna White presentation. So, my hands are all in the way. So just a really, really interesting set of colors. Some really vibrant, some more traditional tones. But I'm really excited to get started with the overdyed silks and see how I like that. Worst case scenario, I'll just go to the DMCs. You know, that's not a worst case scenario at all, actually. I love DMCs, really enjoy stitching with them. But this one I really need to get a move on, because I have pledged to pass my chart on to, I think 3 other ladies are in the queue waiting for this chart. There was a 4th, but she fortunately was able to find the chart. So that's really, really great. Super excited for that. But this is going to be the next big sampler that I start, hopefully within the next few days. My next resolution is to do a thread a day on my Full Moon by Kathy Barrick, which I have been woefully failing at. I haven't stitched on this at all so far in 2025, so I really need to snap out of it and actually do it. This is a Fox and Rabbit linen, and I'm completely blanking on which one, but I think it's the called for from the chart, which I think might be, is it paper bark? Yeah, 40 count paper bark is what I have there. And even though Kathy Barrick usually, you know, she always has like an MPI thread list, I have opted to use just the DMCs, particularly because it's such thick and heavy block stitching. here at the top, but hopefully if I do a thread of the day, I will sort of really chip away at that big banner at the top. The middle section is still quite stitch heavy, and then there's another, I think, solid banner at the bottom. So I'm gonna keep this out because I'm really hoping to start to get to sticking to that thread a day on this piece. I showed in my last video the whips that I was bringing into 2025 from previous years, and my goal for this year is to complete at least 3 of those. So, you know, hopefully also finish whatever I start this year, but I think I carried over 9 whips, and I'm not somebody who likes to carry a lot, so I would like to finish at least 3. They don't have to be these 3, but the 3 I'm thinking I will finish are the winter wreath that I already showed. That's my current whip. I think if I work on that for a little while longer, that will be done. I would love to finish the Egg Collector by Teresa Kogut, and also Babushka's Bees by Plum Street. So those I will maybe insert some sort of pictures, but I've already got good progress on all 3 of those, so that should be really realistic to get done. And also because none of them are really all that big. So the next goal I have is to start and work on MT 1810 by GGR. This is the chart. Her charts are always these big, chunky pamphlets. As everybody probably knows, on her cover she just has the original version of the chart, but this one, if you want to see it finished, recently Nikki Noodle, Nikki Noodle 74 on Instagram. She does Flosstube videos. I hope she'll come back and do another one soon. She just finished this and hers is gorgeous. So I did get the Swasser Fiends for this because it's quite a big chart. So I thought if I do a higher count, like a 56 count linen, I need to choose that for my stash. Hopefully I have a piece that would be big enough. But if I do a Swasser Fiend on 56, it can be a little bit more reasonably sized to get it framed when I'm eventually done. But this I'm really motivated to work on. One, because I love GGR. I did her Bridget Power a couple of years ago, love stitching on it, and just love seeing the piece come to life because, of course, until you stitch it, you know, there's no image on the front that you can really go off of. So other than looking on social media, it's sort of a pleasant surprise when you see how everything comes together. So that's part of my desire to stitch this, but part of it is because I have an antique sampler in my collection that is markedly similar to this. So she's also a big girl. I've done 0 research on her, and so I have no idea why there's such similarity. I imagine they went to the same school, had the same teacher, something like that. I got this at auction. It's not in the frame. I don't know how far back I need to go to be able to properly show this. But yeah, really, really love this. And if I just zoom in here to the bird there, you see there's so many motifs that are really, really similar. So that bird, this bird on the branch in the center, the one over here, it's basically the, you know, it's really, really similar to the 3 motifs that are in the bottom here, just in a different order. So what I would really, really love to do is have my GGR framed and finished, frame this antique sampler and sort of display them side by side, in addition to doing some research on, you know, what's the link between these 2 girls and why their pieces look so similar. I would also like to do 25 finishes in 2025. This is only my 5th year stitching. I started in 2021. And that year I think I finished about 27 pieces. And then the next year only 25 or 24. And then the past couple of years it's been like 20, 22. And so given that it's 2025, I thought a fun goal would just be to say I'm going to finish 25 pieces. That doesn't mean fully finishing, just as a caveat. But I'm hoping I can really get to that 25. I imagine that will be comprised of a couple of big samplers. I already have Ruth Bates. Maybe 2 more big samplers if I'm lucky, but mostly smalls. You know, I'm a realist, so I think it will mostly be smalls that I work on. But yeah, hopefully I can get to that 25. I'm already on 3. I'm on 3 for January, so at this rate I'll be up in the 30s. But I think with Ruth Bates, that was quite an exception. But hopefully I can get there. I am lucky, super lucky, that I'm going to be going to a retreat put on by the Sampler Guild that I mentioned earlier, the guild that I'm a member of. And the leader of the guild, Linda, has worked her magic yet again and has gotten us into the Ackworth School. So where all of the Ackworth samplers come from, it's still a real school. It's still, it functions as a school. And I think on one of their half-term periods, we're going to be able to actually stay in residence in the facility, see some of their collection of samplers and needlework that aren't normally, I think, open to the public, plus do our own stitching. Some really, really great friends I'm super excited are going to be there. Sandy of Whispered Stitches, Lisa, I'm super excited. They just registered and got in. Really, really thrilled that they're going to come across the pond for that. But also Karen and Brendan from Fox and Rabbit. We were all chatting at the Attic Sampler Symposium when we convinced Sandy and Lisa to register. So the 5 of us will be there. Hopefully other ladies that I've met through these weekly Zooms with the guild, but should be a really, really lovely event. But I figure I can't go to Ackworth and not stitch on an Ackworth sampler. So I have been wanting for years to stitch on Mary Peacock. After I saw Brenda of Brenda and the Cereal Starters, I really wanted to stitch on it. It's not my normal colors, like the pinks and the blues. I'm not a very pastel person, although I do really like the Quaker motifs. But seeing Brenda's, it just is, it's so much more beautiful than even, you could imagine by looking at the cover here. So I really would love to stitch that. I'm also super lucky because I know a lot of the needle print Ackworth samplers, the rights to them got bought by, I think, Stitchy Box, and they have been reproduced, so you can buy them as PDFs, or I think also in hard copy. But for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why, Mary Peacock, the rights to that were not able to be acquired by Stitchy Box. So this one is an out of print one. And I was lucky enough that a kind lady, I think on a unicorn chart group, told me that she had Mary Peacock plus maybe like 4 or 5 other of these original needle print charts. And so I really quickly snagged that up, and so I'm super excited to be able to work on this while I'm at Ackworth. So I figure I'll start it a little bit before the retreat so that I've got some progress and it's not just a brand new start, but really looking forward to that. So for my last stitching goal for 2025, I'm really putting myself out there to keep myself committed. And the reason I say that is because for people who know me, they've heard me talk about for a few years now that I really want to chart some reproduction samplers. I now have, I think, 35 or so in my collection. And the whole justification for me buying them is that I keep saying, oh, but I'm going to reproduce them. So it's totally fine that I spend this money because I'm going to put them out in the world for other stitchers, and I haven't charted a single one. So I decided to start with, one of the more simplistic ones that I own, and I haven't decided. So it's not necessarily this one that's in my hand here. This is just one of the contenders. So this is Julia Ann Gerhardt. So if you can see that, maybe I'll pull back. So, just an alphabet sampler with a little verse down here, quite simple. But I thought I would try to get this done within, recharting it or charting it within the next couple of months, see how I like it, and then go on to some of my more complex samplers. Some of the other ones are definitely my favorites. This one I just bought because her name is Julie Ann and my name is Julie Ann. But I think this would be a good one to start. If not, I will have some other options maybe, So I haven't quite decided. They each sort of have their own appeal, but I'm putting it out into the universe that in 2025, I'm going to reproduce and put out there at least one sampler. We'll see how it goes. I did a lesson with Mom Loves UGB Michelle at the Stitch in London Sampler Edition last February. She taught us all how she goes about charting reproduction samplers, the software, her approach to it, even going into how she researches the genealogy. And so we got this absolute wealth of information that Michelle was so generous to share with us all. And then I just did nothing with it. It's continued to just be an elusive goal of mine. So this year I really want to put my money where my mouth is and actually do it. So now I want to talk a little bit about some stash that I have recently acquired. in and around the Sampler Symposium event. For the sake of time, I don't think I'm going to walk through the retreat. There's some other people who have done just phenomenal recaps. Brendan Karen from Fox and Rabbit, Laura and Brenda from Brenda and the Serial Starter, Katie Strachan, who was one of the faculty members, she did a run through of the retreat. Jackie Comfort Stitching talked about it. Susan Stanley, who attended. So a lot of people have done really, really brilliant overviews of the retreat. So rather than go back through and show you all of those items that we received again, I would direct you to some of their videos. I'll link them down below. Everybody just sort of universally raves about attic retreats. And it's so true. They're just such lovely, lovely events. One, because it's a wealth of information. You know, the faculty are top notch. They have so much information to share. They're just a delight. Jeanette Douglas was a real highlight. She was just so entertaining and so witty. Michelle of Mama Loves You GB, who I've been fortunate enough to meet at a previous retreat, like I said. And so I knew from then that she's a great speaker and is so knowledgeable. But I was just blown away by her presentation on Welsh samplers. Katie Strachan, Kathleen Littleton, who was just so kind and actually introduced herself to me because she had seen my Flosstube, which I was just, gobsmacked about. She presented with Nicola from Hands Across the Sea, Becky Scott from Whitney Antiques. So anyways, go watch those other videos. They were phenomenal. But I want to talk about things that I acquired outside of the retreat. So these are things that I went ahead and purchased. Not all at once, not all at the attic. A lot of these were orders over a period of months that I've just now picked up and brought back. So I will start with Comfort and Joy by Plum Street Samplers that I have as a kit from Country Sampler in Spring Green. Thanks to my really kind friend Lisa. So she somehow ended up with 2 kits of this and asked me if I wanted one. And I love this house, of course, and I love everything by Plum Street. But it's this little duck postage stamp in the corner that just really, really sold me. So I'm going to have to stitch this. And she just really generously gave me the whole kit. So that counts. I got these apparently Civil War underwear buttons from 5 Times Blessed. They had a little pop-up shop, or she had a little pop-up shop at the retreats. I got a few random silks. I got an NPI, I got some Glorianas. I was really kind of looking for a burgundy shade. I got this luminescent silk by Gloriana, a burgundy shade, because I had seen in one of Katie Strachan's recent videos, I think not her most recent one where she talks about the attic, but the one before that, she showed a finish of Belle's Nickel by Not Forgotten Farm that her mom stitched for her. And rather than it be a blue Santa, her mother had done it in like a reddish, sort of a burgundy color. So Katie mentioned that it was probably SWA 103335, which I have. But since I have it, I thought, why not get other options in case I end up preferring one of these? So I got a few loose silks. I got the one silk that I was missing for Kathy Barrick's Majestic Birds. I picked up somebody, and again, I feel really terrible that I'm not sure who it was. Somebody was posting about Dorothy Walpole by The Scarlet Letter, which is just this magnificent chart with all this Bargello. Just one of these charts that will, push you to become a better stitcher, not just for cross stitching, but other specialty stitches. So I thought, okay, let me give that a try. So I got that chart, and I have other charts by The Scarlet Letter as well. I've not stitched any of them, but that is a story for another day. I saw that Mama Loves You GB, her Susan Steele 1817 Norfolk sampler, which is this beauty, was the sampler of the month at the attic. And I have been watching this and waiting for Michelle to release it ever since she first showed it. I love Norfolk samplers. I love the aesthetic of those samplers, and I've wanted it ever since. And so now that it's finally published, and to show my support for how exciting it is to be selected as the sampler of the month, I got the SWA 103s to go with Susan Steele. And I'm not sure what Lynn and I will stitch it on yet, but probably just pulling something from stash in, I would guess, like a 46 count. So I got a few pieces of linen. I got a Seraphim 46 count moon shadow, which how it worked for the retreat, and this has been explained in those other videos, but not every chart did we get as a full kit, just because there's so many faculty members, and if we got everything kitted, the retreat would cost, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars. So instead, we got some fully kitted, and then we had the option to choose among kits for some of the other. So I went to kit one of Kathleen Littleton's Norfolk Sampler Adelaide something. I'll put the name on the screen. But I got the silks and the chart, of course, that we all got. But then it was sort of up to us to go and pull which type of linen we wanted for whichever chart. And the ladies who work at the attic would tell us what size we needed for that particular chart. So, okay, if you're stitching Adelaide in a 46 count, you only need a fat quarter. So that's what I got of this. So that is Seraphim Moon Shadow. I also picked up 40 count Ragamuffin by Tabby Cat. And I love a grungy linen. And I know some people see this and probably think, oh, that looks absolutely crazy. What are you gonna stitch on that? But I love grungy linen because as soon as you put stitching on it, it just tones all that grunge down, but I love the look of it. And I was talking to Vashti, who works at the attic, and she couldn't tell me what she stitched on it because it's a model stitch that's secret. But she had mentioned that she had stitched a spring piece, I think for market, on this linen, on Ragamuffin, and said that it looked genius. And if you just see the colors, you can see why it would be really great with some sort of spring finish. So I really am looking forward to stitching something on that. I got Salt Ash by Cedar River Linen. I really enjoy her linens, and I didn't have any of Salt Ash. And it's just sort of this yellowy neutral color. And if I didn't mention, that's in 56 count. I got Old Stationery in a 46 count by Seraphim. I'm really drawn to these like grungy, greeny linens. And so I thought I would pick that up. And then I got a 46 count Wood Smoke by Tabby Cat. And I am obsessed with this. I don't know what it is about it. I am absolutely loving this linen. And I thought I would use it on Kathy Barrick Majestic Birds, which does call for Fox and Rabbit seaweed, I believe. And I have a 40 count seaweed, which is also the count that it calls for. But increasingly I like things a little smaller. So I thought, okay, let me get something slightly different, try it in a 46. So I got the 46 count instead, and I'm gonna stitch Majestic Birds on that. And that's also why I got that last MPI that I was missing. I'm gonna pull out a couple of other things. Oh, here are the 24 Slosser Fiends that I got for MT 1810. So you can see the colorways, so many beautiful greens and beiges and tans, really beautiful. So this is a silk conversion from the attic that they can always kit up for you if you are interested. And then I got overdyed silks for Sacred by Teresa Kogut, which I haven't pulled the chart out for that, so I'll just put a photo of it. But the silks that they have pulled for that, I saw actually somebody during the show and share who had stitched it with the attic conversion on Inca by Fox and Rabbit, which I have a piece of, I think they're 46. And so I just took it as a sign that I needed to get the silks, and like they're just so beautiful. So this is Belle Soie's, Gum Nuts, and a couple of dinky dyes. But just look at these warm, beautiful tones. It's just, you know, I'm not a religious person, but something about that sort of imagery that's very Catholic, which I am technically Catholic. I just love the aesthetic of it. And so I think that'll be a really fun piece to stitch on. Next, I got the Modern Folk Embroidery hem stitching instruction pamphlet. This I think you can also get by PDF off of Jacob's website, modernfolkembroidery.com. But I thought I was in the attic, why not support the attic, get it in hard copy, because I also like to have things. So I would print out the PDF anyways, if I got it that way. So rather than just, you know, do that, I cut out the middleman, cut out the printer. I got a handful of With Thy Needle and Thread charts with the idea that because Brenda Gervais doesn't ship overseas, and it's now not even really that feasible to get charts of hers from LNS's overseas, I thought I would bring back some with my needle and thread charts for some friends, or just to give away at the retreats that I go to in London, because a lot of those stitchers who are UK based or Europe based just can't easily get these. So some of these I already have, like Santa Stops Here by With Thy Needle and Thread. Let me hold it like that instead. That I already have, so that's a duplicate. But I also got her Goodness Gracious, which I don't have. The Salem Mini Moon, that's for me. That's the one that I'm getting for our stitch along. Joy and Good Cheer, which I have, and I stitched that robin as a little ornament last year, and I thought that was just so cute. Summer Swan, which is here, I love. And then Liberty for All, particularly because that American flag could really be easily switched out for a Union Jack. So I thought those would be some cute ones. So I brought back a couple of books with me. I got Choice and Precious Work Volume 2 from Whitney Antiques, which is signed by Becky Scott. So Becky Scott from Whitney Antiques is sort of the foremost expert on needlework and samplers worldwide. She's just so knowledgeable and puts together these beautiful books. And so since I had the chance to get her to sign it there in person, I got it from the attic. And on top of that, I had already ordered volume 1. So I already have volume 1. This is Choice and Precious Work volume 2. So really looking forward to thumbing through that a little bit more thoroughly. And then I won't take it out of the plastic just for the sake of time, but I got the highly sought after Quaker Schoolgirl Samplers from Ackworth book by Carol Humphrey. This goes for a pretty penny on eBay in the secondhand market, but Linda from the Sampler Guild was able to acquire a box or two of these books, brand new, from the Ackworth School themselves, I believe, if I recall correctly. And she was, able to sell them just at cost, or sort of at the initial retail value, rather than at the sort of secondary market prices. So I got that for a very, very reasonable amount. So yet another reason to join that guild, because she definitely has connections that she puts to good use for us stitchers. Okay, I got this gorgeous project bag from Sherry So Sweet, who is on Etsy, but also has her own website. And so she releases bags and you can order them. They're gorgeous. They are perfect. They're so well made. And I just love this little candy cane sort of applique on the front. They come with a nice little, keychain and a little fob. And they're just really sturdy and well made. They're quilted, but they're not too puffy or too heavy. And then from Patchwork Paw Print in the UK, she also used to be on Etsy, but now I think primarily sells through her website. I got a Hands Across the Sea Sarah Brazier bag. So taking the fabric panel and putting that on the front of this bag. And that is a chart that I'm planning to start in the near future. So I thought that was very appropriate. And again, just gorgeously made, like absolutely stunning, just really well made. Everything's perfect. I love the double zipper on the front of this. Really, really beautiful. I also treated myself to 2 pairs of Kohana scissors. One was a special edition that was released sometime in the autumn. I can't remember exactly when, but it's this pink version. So it comes in a little cream leather sheath, and it's a very kind of pinky tone with a little snowflake charm on it. So that's beautiful there. And then the second one was from the Lucky Bag that they offer for release every January. And this one is sort of the orangey color pair of scissors. It's this, I wouldn't say it's a burnt orange, but it's a little bit of a, I don't know, like a dull orange, but I just love it. Like I like the orange on the scissors more than I like the orange of the sheath or on this little tassel. But Kohana scissors I love. I'm still trying to get my hands on a blue or a yellow, especially a blue, like a navy I would, die for. But in the meantime, I'm acquiring my reds and my pinks and the brown lacquer ones. And I really love these scissors. They get, they're just so, pleasant to use. And I love the, craftsmanship that they're known for. And so I love to kind of, continuously support that. I'm embarrassed to hold this up. I also got quite a few hoops, both new and old. I had posted on the Homespun Facebook group asking if people who had queen hoops really found that they held the tension better in their hoop, because I know queen hoops are super expensive. I'm a collector of all things stitching related though, so I thought between wanting to collect and add a queen hoop to my collection, if they also were that much better for tension, maybe it would be worthwhile. And people were, of mixed opinions. If queen hoops were worth it or not. However, pretty much the universal opinion was to add twill tape to the inside of whatever hoop you're using to improve the tension, to really have it hold the fabric snug. So I did buy that, but then I also ordered some additional hoops. So I got a Nurge hoop, and somebody had highlighted that the thicker the width of the wood, the more taut it will hold your fabric. This is not Nurge, but this is from Hobby House, and I'll have to look up and put on the screen what the name is. I forget, but that was another brand that was recommended. I got a couple of Gibbs hoops, which are the kind that have this little spring there. And so these are, decently taut as it is. And this one obviously has some ribbon around it. These are both 6-inch Gibbs hoops that I got off of eBay, so those are secondhand. So I'm going to try these out, see if I need to add the twill tape to those. But then I got some more of what are my favorite hoops, which are the princess hoops. I think I have only a 6-inch princess hoop, I think is the biggest size that I have, and as well as an oval one. So I believe these are 7-inch, and then this is 8-inch, if I'm not mistaken. So I got 3 princess hoops, and like this one looks quite new on the metal. These ones are a little bit, rusted, but that's absolutely fine. And so I'm going to try those out and see how I like those. So I have recently been to Liberties of London as well. They're very well-known haberdashery department. And I got a few things. I got this little sardine in the William and Morris Berry Thief pattern. It came in a set of 3 with different Liberty print fabrics for each of the little fish. I was there with a friend. She wanted 2. I really only wanted this one, so I went home with this one. I got this pear pin cushion in some gorgeous, very springy Liberty fabric, which is really joyful, and I enjoyed that very much. And then I got these little matching items. So this is a pair of scissors that comes in this little scissor case. These are, of course, all, these 2 are William Morris fabrics along with the Berry Thief. So this just comes with little threads, a thimble, some needles, another pair of scissors, all of that. But I just thought this little case was too cute to pass up, even though I don't need any of the supplies inside. I really, really enjoyed that. So those are some fun little Liberty purchases. I wanted to stockpile a bit on some of my finishing supplies. I've seen people use old sari silk for sort of a bit of a prim finish. So I got this tan color of sari silk. I got this bundle that is all different shades of red. So I think that will be really fun to play around with. And then this bundle that is different shades of green. So I thought for some Christmas finishes for next year, that would be really fun to just sort of play around with those. Something that I didn't already have any of. I bought myself on eBay this old vintage Singer tin. It's vintage, but I don't think these are really truly old. If I'm not mistaken, I think they were produced in the 1970s. So they look older than they actually are. But I thought that would just be such a nice, cute little Notions tin. And I love the double handle. So on my way back, I just put a bunch of my sewing stuff in there so I could better fit it into the suitcase because it was full, believe you me. So the next little grouping of things I got is, strictly speaking, not cross stitch, more sewing, embroidery. But I got Katie Strachan's Crystal Dove ornament, which I'll quickly, she sends you some cutouts, some cardstock. You get, of course, the lovely, and her packaging is just, immaculate. So you get kind of this piece of felt and a needle, and then you get all of the, accoutrement or every possible thing that you need to finish it with the kit. It comes in a box, For the sake of travel, I discarded the box and just put everything into a little sewing tin. But, you know, you have the threads, you get, you know, all of the beads, and everything's labeled really well. You know, you get the beak felt, you get the sequins, you get the bugle beads. I mean, it's just gorgeous, and it's so well put together. Really great instructions. So that was really fun to receive, because I remember when I saw her first show this on her channel, I thought, oh, I would really love to make that if she ever sells it as a kit. And at the time she wasn't, and then she later released it. So I was really glad to get one of those. I think they're sold out, but I think that she sometimes will, you know, rerun some of these items. So it might still be possible to get it at a later date. Keeping in the Katie Strachan inspired purchases, I got 2 pieces from the Chiswick Company, which is, I assume, a UK based. The name tells me that it's British. But I got turtle doves, so 2 little doves. And then I got this pigeon. I also ordered from them a PDF version. They have this little otter holding a pearl. So I got those. And so these are just little embroidery kits. They come with everything inside that you'll need. I've never done anything like this, so we'll see how that goes. But this year I'm also very compelled to sort of branch out into other types of needlework and embroidery. So I figured starting with these kits is a really great way to go. Inspired by Vanna Pfeiffer, who makes some beautiful cords, and I think Helen D also did a tutorial on how to use this. I got the Krynick cord maker, where you can use just regular floss to make it into a cord. This was sold out in a lot of places, but I managed to find it somewhere on Etsy just at the regular price, but that was quite good. I also have a couple of these seam rippers, so I think I will be using those this year. And then I found this little vintage pin cushion that you kind of wear around your finger. I just thought that was so fun. So I ordered that off of Etsy. I got this sampling of memories, which I want to say this comes with the Mary Alcorn piece from Hobby House. So let me actually get that out, because I think those are meant to be shown together. Yes, so this is the Mary Alcorn Antique Sampler. So I showed you in the last video that I've done the drum and the scissor spool. I have plans to do the mattress finish. And this comes with a piece of Thornfield by Needle and Flax. I believe I got it in 46 count. I ordered it with the over-dyed cottons. This was an exclusive in the Homespun Needlework group on Facebook, but it eventually will be released to the broader public. So if you didn't get your hands on it, don't worry. And in the meantime, you can still get the other little corresponding smalls just on the Hobby House website. And I think other retailers now also sell those. So you can still work on the smalls in the meantime. And then when that's released, you can work on the big sampler. So I would really like to get that done, because I just want to have all of these pieces displayed together. I think it's such a brilliant idea. Another kit I got is Eliza Taylor from Needlework Press. This is from the Threads of History from Country Sampler, and so that comes with the called for threads and the linens, and the called for threads are classic colorworks. So that's just beautiful. It's got a really fun, as always, right? Vicky of Needlework Press loves anything with quirky animals, which also really I'm drawn to. So really, really like that. All right, now flash through some other random charts. I got from Stacey Nash, I got her Dr. Raven, which is sort of the plague doctor animal cracker, which is amazing. I got Neeltje Cornelia Van Buren from Hands Across the Sea. And that, I believe, came in the Hobby House tartan needlework case. I gave the case away as a gift to a friend, but I kept the chart, the little threads, the scissors that came with it, just as, you know, a little treat for myself. So I don't have the case to show you, but I have sort of the accessories. I got Salem Sampler by Plum Street Samplers. I love anything that will quote Cotton Mather. That's just always really fun. He's the quoted in the middle of the sampler, so that should be really fun. Down in the Valley by Annie B's Folk Art. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to jog my memory about who I saw stitch this. It might have, was it the Tattooed Stitcher maybe? I'd never heard anybody talk about this before, which is crazy because it's a beautiful sampler. But as soon as I saw whoever it was, which I think it was the tattooed stitcher, I'll go back and watch her videos and see if I'm right on that. And if not, I'll try to figure out who it was. But as soon as I saw that, I thought, okay, I need to stitch this. I love like the pinkies and the oranges. I really like pink and orange together. So that's really beautiful. Got another animal cracker, another one of the new ones, Bones, again by Stacey Nash. We're gonna be all ready for Halloween. I got Brenda Gervais Christmas Swan. Again, I'm just so easily influenced. Somebody had finished this and posted it on Instagram, and it was just so beautiful. I made my classic mistake of ordering a chart that I already had. It was in Kitten Stitcher's website sale section, so I was probably a little bit just, you know, excited by the sale price, and I added it to my cart and purchased it, and then later saw in my Excel sheet where I keep all the charts that I own listed that I already have this chart. So that was a bit silly, but it's Jane Allen by Hello from Liz Matthews. I really like a lot of the charts that she does. I love these little birds at the bottom. I love the banner. Really lovely. So I grabbed that by mistake. Since I have an extra, I'll probably pass that on at some point in time. Another one that I bought twice is Nancy's Sewing Accessories by Erica Michaels. So this corresponds to an actual full chart, but if you go to Hobby House in New York, they have all these little smalls, and the most impressive is like this little horn book. But this is the chart that it comes from. It's related to Nancy Alden, the 1795 sampler, also by Erica Michaels. I like this so much I bought it twice. I got Elizabeth Poindexter, a sampler from Jersey, the Channel Isles by Hands Across the Sea. So that's a really cute one. I think this was exclusive to Hobby House, but don't quote me on that. I got Teresa Koget's Hello Santa book, which has, I want to say 7. Yeah, it's got 7 cross-stitch designs by Teresa. I got Christmas Kitty. I'm a cat lady. Of course I had to. I got a few more charts here. I got Anne Kirby by Needlework Press. Let's talk about like weird animals. Needlework Press always coming in with the weirdest animals, and I love. So this peacock is just glorious, and I've wanted this for a long time. And I don't think I own this, although now that I say that, I'm worried I've bought this one twice as well. But always happy to support. And then I got the 7 Rud alphabets. I like an alphabet sampler, especially one of this style. And I like that it's longer, you know, lengthwise than it is, you know, it goes more horizontally than vertically. I think that's always really fun. I think those were also in the sale section of Kitten Stitcher's website, excuse me. So worth keeping an eye on that. And then I got another Stacey Nash, which you can tell it's a little bit older because she still uses like the actual photos on the front. And this is Lydia Corker, which I might also already own. This is a trend. And despite keeping very good records of what I own, I repeatedly buy the same things over and over again. But you know, no harm. So I got that. And then I ordered a Gloriana Virginia Pine Silk, which is one I don't think I have. So sticking with charts, I have liked a lot of the charts by Tina Woltman, Early Workings, for a long time, but she stopped really printing her charts before I even started stitching. So bar, I think 1 or 2 that I got from the secondary, well, 1 I got from the secondary market. I think maybe 2, a friend who had them passed them along to me. I didn't have any of her charts and always really liked them. But I saw one day she was recommended that I follow her on Instagram. So I followed her for a while, and all of a sudden the other week I saw that she had posted and she had been convinced that she should sell her charts again. And so what she's done is, I'm not sure if this is still her system, so definitely check her social medias. She's on Early Workings, I think Early Workings 1815 maybe on Instagram. I'll put it on the screen. Or she's on as I think Early Workings / Tina Woltman on Facebook. But she asks that you add her, Tina Woltman, And you can see her image is like a dough bowl with small, so you know you're adding the right Tina Woltman. Add her there. She posts pictures of the charts that she has that are for sale. You email her, it's an AOL account, and you tell her, I would like this, 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 and this. She'll send you a PayPal invoice and send them right out. I think I got 16 charts from her. So I will quickly go through them. I got, let's see, Elizabeth Briggs, and I'm hoping you'll be able to see all of these. Vintage Jack, which is one of the ones that I really wanted. The Autumn Bird. The Halloween Bat. Old Tom Turkey. The Old Oak Tree. Happy Jack, another one I love. Clara F. Higgins. 1851 Heart, which actually I might pull to the side so that I remember that I should stitch that for Valentine's Day. Mistletoe and Holly. Anna's Partridge. Comet's Feather Tree Pinkeep. So comet as in reindeer. Jinglebird Pinkeep, which I just love how quirky that bird is. A Merry Old Christmas. Blackjack Pinkeep. And 1776 Pinkeep. And so some of these designs, that one's from 2018, 2012, 2015. So I don't know if she's planning on releasing any new designs. These are her old ones, but really good news because I know that there are tons of people out there who have wanted to get their hands on her charts, and now you can again. And she was super easy to communicate with. They came really, really quickly, so that all worked out really well. So I, like Minnie, was influenced by Lori Holtz. I had watched her lacing video for her finishes, and so I got the doll needles that she recommended. And then I was ordering from the UK, so I couldn't get the exact same crochet yarn, but I got the same weight yarn. It's a DMC. It's all cotton, which is what she recommended, so I've got those. So I'm gonna try at some point in time this year to actually like lace my own finish, and we'll see how that goes. So for linens, I will go to linens and then one more thing. So I got a 40 count toasted marshmallow by Grace Notes Fabrics, which is a pale blue. I got Mason Linens Antique Button in the shade Light. And for those that don't know, so Mason Linens in any sort of, whether it's antique button or button box, they do sort of a light, medium, and dark colorway in the same shade. So that's really nice. And these I see are more and more available again. I think, you know, for a while they were a little bit harder to find again and really popular. People love stitching on them, but now I'm seeing more and more available. So that's great. From Dames of the Needle, I got dried Virginia Baccy, as in like tobacco. I love dirty dark colors, so that's really fun. I got from Seraphim Fabric, I got the color Yule in a 40 count. So actually a friend of mine, Sherry, had asked me if I'd seen anyone post the, what is it? The Pennsylvania Dutch little Christmas smalls by Shakespeare's Peddler. She'd seen somebody stitch them on green rather than red, like with a white thread. And she and I were looking, we couldn't find them anywhere. But I really thought, oh, like a true Christmassy green, that'd be really, really beautiful. So I ordered that. From Etsy, from Jay's Cross Stitch, which is a dyer out of Australia. They were having like an absolutely outrageous sale for Boxing Day. I want to say it was like 70% off. So I have a few pieces of their linen, but I got even more. And sorry for the crinkling. This is Bush Tea. So sort of a warm neutral color. This is Week Tea, which as you can see compared. And this is 40, this is 46, just for reference. I think I got one more piece from them. Yes, I did. This one is a 32 count even weave, and I've been wanting to do more over one pieces, you know, the entire thing in an over one, so I thought an even weave was a good way to go. Some people have recommended that. And this one is a special dye lot, so it doesn't have a specific color name. But so I got that 32 count even weave. Here is the piece of Thornfields. I got 40 count that went with the Mary Alcorn chart. Here's the back of it. Just got a little bit separated, so I'll put those back together. From Dames of the Needle, I got a 40 count rice powder linen, which is this beautiful, again, rice powder is such a good name for it because that's exactly the shade. There are so many amazing linen dyers out there, and I'm so happy to see that the market, you know, really supports this number of designers, you know, who are really proliferated designers and dyers and, you know, people who are doing all sorts of creative endeavors. So that's very exciting. 40 count Boxing Day linen, also by Dames of the Needle. Yeah, and you know, I've rarely met a linen I didn't like. Oh, this is another one that I bought when I was on the green trip for the Shakespeare's Peddler, Pennsylvania smalls for Christmas. And that's a gorgeous piece as well. That would be great for smalls, or if you had one of the kind of like Christmas samplers or a Quaker sampler. There's lots of things you could do with a shade like that. Another Dames of the Needle old top hat in 40 count. So this is a great black if you don't want just a plain solid black. It's really beautifully modeled. I really like that. I got 40 count Kenneth by Grace Notes Fabrics. This is from Lindy Stitches, as you see from the little label. Also from Grace Notes Fabric, I got 40 count Blackberry, which is sort of it's still a neutral, but it has a purpley undertone. Earl Grey, which is a distinct bluey teal undertone. And then the first one that I had shown you, that was the Toasted Marshmallow. I want to say these are all the 4 new colors, or at least new to Lindy Stitches, because I think she sent out an email advertising those 4 colorways in the Grace Notes fabric range. So then I went, and of course I couldn't decide, so I got all 4. Another Dames of the Needle. I got Mermaid's Firewood. This is another influence from the Tattooed Stitcher. She stitched a piece on this. And again, can't remember what it was that she was stitching on it, but I really loved it. And as I mentioned, I like grungy modeled linen, so was really excited to get my hands on that. And then I got a few pieces of Lakeside. I got Clay Pot, which I think is just a 28 count. I got Creek Bed Brown in a 32 count. So Anka Hartung on Instagram, she had stitched a Brenda Gervais. Oh, I can't remember the name of it, but I'll put a picture of the piece that I mean. She had stitched that on 32 Creek Bed Brown, and I loved it. So immediately I hunted down a piece of this. And the 32 is pretty easy to find. I think some of the higher counts are a little bit trickier to find. See, and then this one doesn't actually have a tag as to what it is, but it came within the same order. So I'm going to put on the screen right now what this one is. It looks like it's got to be just a 28 count, and it looks pretty even. So I wonder if this is an even weave that I got as part of that. You know, I want to stitch things over one. So with that, I was initially going to show a bunch of charts that I would like to stitch on in 2025 with all the best laid plans, but I think I've rambled on for long enough. So I think I will instead leave it there. Next time I hope to be back with a kit parade as promised. I would also love to show you some of my previous stitch pieces that I have had framed. So, you know, samplers that I have done and sent off to the framers. And so I think that is what I'll focus on for next time, as well as maybe showing those charts that I'm planning on stitching for the upcoming year. But in the meantime, thank you again for spending all this time with me. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them down in the comments below. Thanks again, and see you soon, I hope. Bye-bye.